Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm Lisa Curry.
Hey, and I'm Matt Sheffield. And today is the last night of the Democratic National Convention. And so we took earlier in the week off so to try to cram everything all in one episode. And also, plus, I have actually been in Chicago milling around the convention. And I was trying to find Mike Lindell. I was not able to. He shaved his mustache. Actually, can you believe it? That's
Oh,
the breaking
oh my
that's the
God, that
breaking
was the
news.
only appealing thing about him. I mean, without that, is he still sexy, Matt?
Well, I guess I wouldn't know, but but apparently he was saying he was going to do it as a disguise to go amongst the crowd.
What?
Yeah. Yes.
That's in your state. You want to know more in your state? So they just found 257,000 votes. This happened last week. A judge ruled in Georgia that are missing from the 2020 election.
Yeah.
This just came out. You're behind. You
So
should.
your source is Trust Me, bro? That's your source?
No, the source. It's in your papers in Georgia. You need to read your news.
You haven't given me any last name.
You need to read your news. No, this is your Georgia news. This is your Georgia.
I don't know how to do this. God bless. There's gonna be so much editing for you. The kid saying, "Oh, so your source is Trust Me, bro," is the fucking funniest thing. Also, like Mike Lindell thinking he's in disguise in that like straw
I know.
old timey hat.
Yeah. It's like
But he still has that strained voice, like he's
I
panicked.
know. Well, and it's like, yeah, it was like Spock wearing the mustache disguise. That's what that was. Yeah.
He's
So
so insane.
I was walking around trying to find Mike Lindell because I have talked to him for a while and I've gotten fun stories out of him. But yeah, I was not able to find him. Oh man.
Is it
No.
because his disguise was so good? Is that why you couldn't find it?
I guess so. He blended in so well.
He just looks so normal all of a sudden with that weird hat.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
man.
the way he was arguing with that 12-year-old so
Yelling at
sincerely.
him.
There was yeah, he was
Uh-huh.
it was so serious. Yeah, no, that was one of my favorite
Oh, I love it so
moments.
much. That's so good.
Yeah. But, there were actual other things that happened, this week, and one of them, of course, was, Kamala Harris getting accepting formally the Democratic nomination for president and, giving
Mhm.
her, speech on Thursday night, and we both watched it, as did a lot of people.
Mhm.
And, I thought she did a really great job, and, a lot of people really liked it.
I think she did fantastic, and, I, I gotta say, I think the message of, like, hope and joy is really resonating with people because people, even people that are steadfast in their beliefs or hard-headed, I'm calling myself out here, I'm tired of arguing with people, and it's also, like, unrealistic to be mad at so many people all the time for their politics, and I think granted, I do think the Trump stuff goes beyond politics. There's a lot of things that go beyond politics,
Mhm.
genocide, basic human rights, things like that.
Mhm.
But we also all live in a society together, and we have to get along, and it's too stressful. It's so
Mhm.
draining, and it's like I think that uh, I have had a hard time finding where the line is between being a responsible member of a society and also just like living my life and having fun and not getting so wrapped up in stuff. And I think you have to live somewhere in between those spaces. And I
Mhm.
really like uh, Tim Wallz is such a joyful person, and I hate to. I've always said that it's so weird to stand politicians and then, like, you can't do that, they're public servants, and now I'm like, Tim Wallz is my dad. Like like, I'm fully losing
Mhm.
it, and I'm sure he's gonna disappoint me at some point, but it's like, it's just so refreshing to have a real, normal
Yeah.
person on the ticket, and also, I mean, I was saying this before we logged on, and sorry for everyone that's gonna roll their eyes at me for this, but I'm like, I'm I've been getting really emotional about the idea of having the first female president, and it is a big deal. It's a really big deal. Like, I obviously don't
Mhm.
agree with her on everything, but it's like, I don't agree with anyone on
On
everything,
anything. Yeah. No one and
you
no one
know?
does, like yeah, like, no one does, like I mean, yeah, it's
Mhm.
and you have the right to be excited about that, like, I've got two little girls, and, the when we're talking about the lists of the president, they both asked me at one point, they're like, "How come none of the presidents were girls, Dad?" And I was like, "Well,
And you're like,
because"
"Well."
and I said, "Well, that's a good point. That's a good point,
You're like,
and
"Because
that's"
women aren't people." Next question.
because the Lord has appointed men to have headship in the nation. That is what I said. But yeah, and like, but yeah, so like it is. That's a real thing for people to be proud and happy about. But back to Tim Walz, like his I think one of the most memorable moments of the convention was his son, Gus.
Mhm.
After it was over, he was just so proud of his father, and shouted out, "That's my dad! That's my dad!" And it was just, it really was an amazing moment to
It was
see.
so pure, and here's
Yeah,
my take on it, and, the right is making fun of him for having feelings, which is so fucking crazy. The
yeah,
party of Jesus and of families, allegedly, which we all know better than that, is making fun of a child for his
for loving his
overwhelming
father.
for and for feeling overwhelmed by here's my
Yeah.
take, or my
Well,
takeaway
and
from
also sorry, and also he's
oh, go ahead.
neurodivergent as well on top of that. So they're making fun of somebody who, naturally has trouble, expressing
Uh,
feelings the way that everybody else does. And he's a
this is the
child.
party
Like,
of eugenics, though, so of course they are.
yeah, like it's fucking sick, man. But
I
anyway, go
didn't
ahead.
even know I didn't know he was neurodivergent until the left came out in his defense, but
Mhm.
regardless, if someone in my family, I mean, that's how my brother is president of his union, and I think if I was at a fucking union rally and my brother was speaking, I would probably be brought to tears. Like, I
Mhm.
cry at concerts like it's a known thing. I wailed at a Bob
Mhm.
Seger concert. If my dad was was the Democratic nominee for Vice President of the United States, I would
Mhm.
be losing my mind, and I'm a pretty resilient person. I'm not like eh,
Mhm.
not to be
You're
like, I'm
definitely
not one
not.
of those emotional women, but
Mhm.
I think this is a natural reaction to a child seeing their parent achieve something they never
Amazing.
thought
Yeah.
something huge that they never thought they would. Where versus Trump's kids are so used to thinking, and other people, I'm not gonna just limit it to Trump, but, like, they're so used to thinking that let me pull my thoughts together, versus Trump's kids who are so used to feeling entitled to everything, and so
Mhm.
they would never have an emotional reaction to their father being nominated or even becoming president because they think this is something they are owed. They think
Yeah.
this is their
They
manifest
deserve it.
destiny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Of course my dad's gonna be president. He's
Yeah.
Donald Trump." We're like, for any fucking normal person,
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh my god, my parent is gonna be the second most powerful person on the planet? That's huge. You should
Yeah.
be overwhelmed with emotion. If you're not, you're psychotic."
Yeah. Well, and then yeah, and like with the Trump angle, like Melania Trump, she didn't even speak at his fucking convention. Like literally did not speak at the Republican convention, and she didn't even kiss him after he gave his
Yeah,
acceptance speech. Like
we've seen
you
so many videos of her literally swatting his clammy
yeah.
hands away.
Yeah, it's like he has to pay this woman to be his wife. And then,
Mhm.
like that's the real Donald Trump Republican family values is we pay
I
our
will say,
spouses and our children get
anyone
money from us,
listening
and that's all they like us.
to anyone listening, I am willing to be a wife for hire. So please don't knock it too hard, Matt.
Hey, well, I'm not
I
being a
am
wife for
ready.
her, so I can.
Matt and I are looking to marry for money. Please DM us.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I mean, yeah, you couldn't get again all this stuff about Republicans keep saying, "Oh, we're not weird, we're not weird." And it's like you are making fun of a child loving his father. You are fucking ghoulish monsters. That is what you are. You're dead
I
inside
do.
and you hate the world
Yeah.
and you hate yourself. And this is why you like Trump.
We
Period.
all know that these people, we've known that they are going to come for the kid.
Yeah. And even if you didn't like him, like, yeah, his kids,
Even
they
so, yeah.
are just pure and yeah, kids. I mean, like, yeah,
They're
when I was watching
children.
that, I was like, everyone should have someone who loves them like that. We should all have
Yeah.
that. And if you don't
Yeah.
have that,
Well, then there would be
I
no entertainment industry, Matt. So,
okay, well, maybe not, but nonetheless, we deserve that. Like we all just and everybody deserves that. And if you don't have somebody like that in your life, I hope you can get that someday, dear listener.
thing. And if you
But
can't, if you don't have somebody in your life like that, I highly recommend magic mushrooms. You will
you can
you
have one
will
inside of
experience
you.
that level of love and joy. Absolutely.
Okay, well, there we go. Our obligatory magic mushroom endorsement from Lisa. It's just too bad you can't get paid for that stuff, Lisa. That's
I know. I gotta find a way. Again, here's the things I'm looking for: marry for money and be sponsored by psilocybin mushroom company. So,
so yeah, get
please
on that, people.
contact me.
Get
Yeah.
yes. And somebody else who was very notable this week, I thought was Michelle Obama. Like up until uh yeah, I mean she gave I think one of the best speeches. Definitely did better than her husband, I thought.
Oh,
And oh, I thought so because the thing she did that was really important is that she acknowledged that a lot of us out there who oppose Trump, living in this world of pandemic and economic uncertainty and inflation, unemployment problems, you know, it's right for us to feel that way, to be concerned
mhm.
and about the world that we live in, and and I've never heard a politician ever say that you have the right to feel weighted down by all this stuff. And then, but at the same
Yeah.
time, she was like, but we also have to move forward. And and we're going to be resilient on this stuff. And
To be
hope
fair, oh,
requires
go ahead.
resilience. Yeah, no, the hope requires resilience really is what that message was. So I love
I
that.
didn't catch her entire speech or Barack's entire speech, President Obama's entire speech. Um, but I did also enjoy what he said, where he was talking about, I mean, and I think he was talking to progressives and some of the more aggressive people on the left, myself included. I think he was addressing some of us. when he was saying like you can't just write people off because they don't agree with you on things. You can't just like decide they're a bad person. Like these are like if your grandma says something fucked up, he didn't say the words fucked up.
That's what I was gonna say.
But he's like, if your grandma says something fucked up, you love your grandma and you give them time to catch up with the rest of the world. And he's like, you need to do the same for your neighbor. And I thought that was a really good message because I think the left oftentimes gets really sucked up into like, well, you didn't say somebody's pronouns correctly, so therefore you're a bad person and get away from me. And then people are like, we just love to punish people and guilt them. And then when they try to do better, we're like, no, no, no. You used to think this, fuck you. And it's very
you can't
I
build
believe in
anything
forgiving people and I believe in growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wish Obama would have I wish President Obama would have cited my joke from my first album, Alive for a While, recorded live in London, where I do a bit about old people not catching up to where society is. You guys should look it up. It's available on Bandcamp.
It's also actually in our
Streaming on
episode, Lisa.
Spotify.
You forgot. You forgot it's in our episode list. I don't remember what number it is, but yeah, you guys can find it.
Oh
you should
yeah,
listen.
that's right.
Yeah. But
Really
yeah,
should
and like
talk about my album more often, but go ahead.
yeah. Well, that's on your next on your agenda of sales pitches, right? Yeah, and you know, like that. The other thing though about Michelle Obama that was great was she's done with this when they go low, we go high stuff.
I love
And
it.
like
Hmm.
that was the wrong message earlier. I'm going to say that as a former Republican. Like that's not how they play. They don't play that way, and they never have.
Hmm.
And you know, and I think she didn't want to explicitly say, "Oh, by the way, guys, I was wrong about that." But you know, she got as close to that as you can get by saying that you know they want us to be small and we're going to be big, and we're also going to call them out. And she did call out Trump quite a bit, and Kamala Harris did that very well, also, I thought, in her speech. And you know, and she did something also. A lot of the speakers, because like Joe Biden, when he was in his political speeches, he was always talking about the MAGA Republicans, right? But the reality is that this is the crisis that we're having is Donald Trump's personal fault. Like he's the one to blame for it, and so he's the one that should be attacked. And because like and I you know like there's so many people who I mean hell I mean I didn't vote for Trump. I left before he came along. But you know, like there's a lot of people, they don't know anything about this guy, what he believes, what he's, and he will literally lie and say any goddamn thing to get your vote. So, you know, so like, and the only way to counter that is to tell them the truth and never stop. Like that's the reality.
Yeah.
I think to some degree Democrats are finally getting it. So JD Vance on Thursday had another one of his now infamous moments in which he just showed he's a weird, bizarre asshole. He went to a donut shop and he told the woman behind the counter that he was running for vice president. And that he wanted some donuts. And she, the way that she responded to him, oh, it was absolutely perfect.
I can't wait. I've not seen this yet.
Yeah, and you haven't. Yeah.
Here we go.
The zoo has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, man. Okay, yeah. She
I don't want to be on
film,
film.
guys, so just cut her out of anything. Appreciate that, man. I'm JD Vance. I'm running for vice president. Good to see you.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's shit.
Okay, good. How about you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, good. Just everything. Yeah, I mean, a lot of glazed here, some sprinkle stuff, some of these cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense.
Ooh, is that manly?
About 4 years.
About 4 years? Okay. How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good.
all, I just for anyone listening, it's a black woman that's like, I don't want to be on film. And I'm like, this is
Yes.
somebody that's made so many fucking sexist and racist comments. So if like he's like, I'm running to be vice president. I'm sure these people know who the fuck he is. He's acting like they don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it's okay to eat sprinkles if you're a man, but it's hilarious that this person of all people is getting sprinkles. But
Yeah.
he
He just has
sounds
nothing
like
to say to them, right?
yeah, he sounds like if he sounds like a poorly written character in a sci-fi that's like an alien that's taken over a human body. So how long have you been here? How long have you been here? How long have you been here? Like, are you taking a fucking census? These are
Yeah.
humans. Be
Right,
a
that's literally the
human.
only thing he can talk to them. Like, he has nothing to say after they say that to him. He's like, "Okay." So, like, why did
That's
you
it.
even ask them that? Like, what was the point of asking them that if you don't actually give a shit? Why ask them at
What
all
is the
about
point?
that?
He,
And
God, he
yeah,
is so weird.
yeah. And I love the woman's response though. He was like, "I'm running for vice president," and she's like,
And she goes,
"Okay."
okay.
Like, all of us have given that okay before, it's like you're introduced some asshole at a party or something, it's like, and I'm the senior vice president of XYZ. And you're like, okay. That's what that was.
When you just you couldn't care less, and they're trying to impress you. They're trying so hard to impress you, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, I drive a Tesla, and you're like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I know, and she
All
was like,
right.
I mean, and you have to know that she was thinking, when he said that, she was like, "I'm not going to vote for your ass." I'm sure that's what she
God,
was
I wish
thinking.
she would have. Oh God, it would have been so fun. Oh, would have been so fun. I hope. I mean, not that he would have published it, obviously. But God, that would have been so funny. He's
Yeah.
not a human. It's just that's the thing. I think that this is what is so exciting. Back to Tim Wallz, who I just love. Uh, Sorry
You don't
to
say.
myself, really, for standing a politician now, but I love him because he's just a guy. He's just a normal fucking human man. We're like everyone, and obviously I'm
What
voting for
a
Kamala. But
Mhm.
even she, like, talks like a politician. There's so many people that have, like, adopted that weird, like, talk with your fist with your thumb down, you know, thing that did was Obama the
Mhm.
one that started
Oh
that?
yeah.
And it's
No,
like,
I think it was Bill Clinton
this
actually did. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it may
Mhm.
have been anyway, I'm not just saying I was gonna say, I really was gonna say I think it may have been Clinton, but, I the problem was I was a baby then. I was breastfeeding when Clinton was in office, so missed it. Um, but yeah, there's so many people that are in politics that have this like weird uncanny valley
Mhm.
situation about them because they're just training their whole lives to be a politician. I think Gavin Newsom is a great example of that, where he doesn't
Mhm.
seem like a human anymore. He seems like Gavin makes my skin crawl because he supports the SCOTUS decision on Grants Pass v. Johnson, which is disgusting. But he also is like this weird polished version of like he's like an avatar. He's not even a person. Anyway, JD Vance isn't even that. He's not even like a polished
Yeah.
politician. He's just fully inhuman in any way.
Yeah. Truly, truly. Well, and back to the convention though. Somebody else who I also did like was Gretchen Whitmer. She gave a speech on Thursday night, and she did something different that I thought was really notable. And I will play a clip in the produced version of this so people can look at that. But did you watch it? Did you see her thing?
I did not. I missed it
Oh,
entirely.
okay.
I missed all of Thursday because I was not to brag, Matt, but I did have a bar show in Long Beach, and it was an hour and a half drive to do 15 minutes in a dusty bar in Long Beach. So I missed it.
And we have both been there, so yes. um, But okay, well, you didn't see it, so I guess maybe we'll do the segment short. But like, yeah, for listeners and viewers, like, definitely look up her full speech later. Gretchen Whitmer, because like a lot of politicians when they give a speech, like they love to do like sort of wait for the applause lines, and say things like, "And we're all going to work together, and we can do this," that sort of
Yeah, yeah.
thing, and like it's kind of a cheap applause. She didn't do any of that stuff. She was just like slicing through Donald Trump with a like a knife through butter in her speech the entire time. And I was like, holy shit, this woman is a terror against Republicans. Like,
I
I
love
can
it.
see why they hate her so much. Like, I was like, oh man, this is why she wins those elections. And then, but at the same time, so she wasn't making applause lines or jokes or whatever, but everyone in that room was paying attention to her because she was so fucking amazing the way that she did it. So
I
I
love that.
highly recommend watching that. Yeah.
I did, yeah, I
And
missed
here,
her
what?
and I missed Tim Wallz, but I did see DL Hughley today and I loved him.
Oh,
I caught his today, and of course he's very funny. He had a really lot of really funny jabs. And he's very
mhm.
good looking. So that was a nice
Although the
a
dye job,
nice
I
it's not great. It's not great.
it wasn't
But
a
he's
good
still
look.
very
I
good
didn't like
looking.
that part.
He can still get it. So if you're listening, DL Hughley, uh, but one thing I really appreciated what he said was that he spoke with Kamala and that he said, I had assumed all of these things about her because I had just seen memes or just somebody had told me this and I hadn't
Mhm.
bothered to Google. And I think that that is something that a lot of progressives have done with Kamala. And I appreciate that he said that
Mhm.
because I feel like he spoke to a lot of people when he said that. A lot of people, um,
Oh yeah.
that I know personally that are like, she put away thousands of black men. And it's like, do you know how many cases she would have had to have seen statistically, just pure logic, how many cases she would have had to see for then there to be
For that to have
thousands
happened,
of
yeah.
guilty verdicts, for thousands of people to go to prison, and for thousands of them to be black men specifically. That would
Yeah.
mean what she saw tens of thousands of cases. Like it just doesn't. It's not
Yeah.
logical. And when you
Mhm.
look it up, those aren't the numbers.
No,
Granted,
they're not.
I've tried to dive a little bit deeper in to find more information, but also, sorry, friends on the left, some drug dealers do belong in prison, okay? Al Chapo is not the same as the guy making mushroom chocolate bars in your neighborhood. There's a lot in
Mhm.
between. And one of them belongs in prison and the other one doesn't. And the one that belongs in prison is your neighbor because he probably has dreadlocks as a white guy. So lock him up. I
Some
will
skill
say
button for that.
my should I say sleeper favorite? My favorite person of the convention that spoke was Steve Kerr. I'm a lifelong Bulls fan. I love Steve Kerr so much. For anyone knows his background, he's also always been very political. Um, his
And always
family,
very progressive, yeah.
yeah. I feel like looking back at the 1990s Chicago Bulls, if you
Uh-huh.
take into account someone's entire lifetime and the person they are, I think Steve Kerr is the best. Sorry, Jordan. I'll always say Jordan was the GOAT as far as playing goes, but Steve Kerr is such a fucking wonderful human, and also for
And
him to be able to
oh, sorry.
speak on
I
that
just want to say,
stage. Okay.
as
Mhm.
as a former Jazz fan, oh man, I hated Steve Kerr.
Uh,
uh,
Wait a second. Do you know Juwan Howard?
of him,
He was on
sure,
the Utah
yeah,
Jazz for a while. Oh, my parents
yeah.
knew him. My parents were friends with his uh
Oh, really?
godfather, his uncle, whatever he was. I can't remember.
Oh,
Greg
okay.
is his name. Anyway, I had my
Anyway.
15th birthday party at Juwan Howard's house. That's an aside. Uh,
Look at you
that's a
name
story
dropping,
for another
Lisa.
day. Look at me, Juwan Howard, the big guns. It was very cool because for anyone not plugged into 1990s Chicago sports legacies, uh,
All the latest news right here, baby.
yeah, it was very cool, especially to see Steve Kerr speak on that stage in support of a president that he backs, considering that the convention was held at United Center, which is where he got those fucking rings, baby. So that
Mhm.
was very
Yeah.
fun.
Well, and then he just
Very,
got
very
back from
fun to watch.
coaching the USA basketball Olympic team as well. So like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like in terms, I mean, yeah, it like this, he's won at pretty much every level you can except for college. Like the guy is definitely smart as fuck. There's no question about
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his
that.
dad was also in politics, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know. His father was assassinated by Islamic jihadists.
Oh, I did not know that. Did not know that.
Yeah, you should. It's a really fascinating. He has a really fascinating backstory. You should look that.
Yeah.
So he's been like actually legitimately involved in politics since, I mean, like you could argue since he was a kid because of his dad.
Huh. Interesting. Well, and then somebody who, you and I are both atheists, but one of our other favorite speakers was Raphael Warnock, the pastor
Loved him. God, he was
of a
so good.
church.
He was so good. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that ironic? But yeah, like, but he showed what somebody who like what healthy religion looks like, which is not doctrinaire, which is community focused, and
Hmm.
actually cares about people and wants to make their lives better and doesn't try to fucking control them. Like, and he
Hmm.
explicitly talked about, that he wanted his goal. One of his goals was to allow women to have control over your bodies and let you make your own decisions and not have the government do it. Like, I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, man, we need one of him in every church in America. That's what we fucking need.
Yeah, no kidding. Listen, I went to black
You are
church a
looking
couple of
up
times as a
something.
kid, and it was amazing. I was looking up Gretchen Whitmer age because I was like, "Ooh, what are her chances of being able to run in in a couple of terms?"
Oh, okay.
She's
Yeah,
only
I don't know.
53. So anyway, we're good.
Yeah.
God, Matt, as my age is getting closer to people that could be running for president, it is getting more and more depressing. Although I don't know, Donald Trump won, and he was neither on the track for the presidency nor qualified in the least. So
Ah,
I don't know. Give me another
so,
30 years, I might be president.
or if you just take some mushrooms, you can imagine you were.
That seems way less stressful. Way less stressful.
But speaking of, Warnock,
Mhm.
obviously he was one of several black speakers at the convention, and I noticed because I am a masochist of media. I watch Fox
Mhm.
News during the Democratic convention,
You
and
poor
I am.
thing.
Yeah, well, hey,
Matt is
it's a
he
very
is zooming in from a psychiatric hospital as we speak.
hey, somebody's got to report on what these weird anti-American assholes are doing.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I noticed was that on night one, except for Kamala Harris's little cameo that she did,
Mhm.
they either did not air or they cut off every single black speaker that was on the stage during prime time. Every single one. And that was
Now,
like it's
I'm confused by that because is it because they don't want to look at black people, or is it because they're trying to say, because they are racist, but they try to say that they're not.
yeah.
So are they trying to make the case then that the left is actually racist? I'm
I
very
think it's that
confused because go ahead.
yeah. Well, I think it's that they don't want to show the image of smart, well-spoken black people being accepted and admired for what they're doing. That's what it comes down to. And especially like they didn't air almost any of the black speakers on the first night. The only one that they did air for a small portion was Jasmine Crockett, who is like a
Mhm.
superstar as far as I'm concerned. She is amazing.
I love her.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and like she fucking brings it every goddamn time she opens her mouth. And like they cannot stand her for that. Like all Republicans lose their shit when Jasmine Crockett talks. And so they cut her off in the middle of the speech. And then thereafter, they didn't air any black speakers after that. And so, like,
Mhm.
I really think that's what it is, that they just can't bear to have any black person being successful. They don't want you to see that. They want their viewers to think of,
Mhm.
black people as monstrous thugs or whatever. And it's fucking racist. And I called them out on Twitter, and a lot of some people were spreading that, and I am grateful that they did. But like this
Mhm.
is this is the kind of shit that they are telling their audience all the time. And they need to get called out on it. So yeah, like
Yeah.
it's bullshit. And like they on Thursday night, they didn't even fucking run the speaker right before Kamala Harris. Roy Cooper was literally the speaker right before Kamala Harris. And they didn't even air him. They talked over him while he was talking. Like they were doing this throughout the entire convention. And then after Kamala gave her speech, they brought Donald Trump on to do their post-speech analysis. Like this is fucking propaganda. And like they say all the other media are biased. It's like, sure, maybe they might be, slightly left of center, barely, but they don't
Mhm.
invite the fucking presidential nominee of the opposite party on to talk about the Republicans. They don't do that. They don't do that because they're not fucking propaganda. I don't know. It's just bullshit.
I have really appreciated, and I don't know if this is a tradition, but I've really appreciated this time around how the people that did not get the VP nomination
Uh, mhm,
are backing the ticket so hard, and they're not, and also Tim Wallz is speaking so highly of the other people that were in the running for
mhm,
VP. There seems to be, at least outwardly, there's nothing but love and support for one another, and just like
mhm.
this feeling of like we're all going to win this together. We're all going to
And
make
we
this
got to do
happen
this.
versus like fuck Tim, that was supposed to be mine. Like
Mhm,
I don't know. I don't know if it's been like that in the past because I wasn't paying attention as closely as I do now. Um
mhm.
but I've really enjoyed that regardless.
And to your point, Republicans after Josh Shapiro didn't get it, they were acting all concerned about him and saying, well, the only reason he didn't get it is because he was Jewish. And the Democrats are anti Semites. And, meanwhile, our boss goes and has dinner with, Nick Fuentes and fucking Kanye West, the most prominent anti Semites in the entire world, or at least the entire country of the United States. But, the other guys have an anti Semitism. And Josh Shapiro, to his credit, he wasn't having that. He was like,
Mhm.
you guys are totally full of shit and you're lying and you're not concerned about anti-Semitism and you're totally insincere. And Trump
Mhm.
responded to that. He that made Trump lose it, and he lashed out at him on his untruth social site, as I call it. And he called him the highly
That's a Trump
overrated
level
Jew.
insult.
I know it is, yes, which is why, like, he's the only one that I talk like this
I know, I'm
about.
teasing.
Yeah, and so he goes, the highly overrated Jewish governor of the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, made a really bad and poorly delivered speech, blah blah blah. And then I'm not gonna read the diarrhea in full. And then he was like, in fact,
Mhm.
he refused to acknowledge that I am the best friend that Israel and the Jewish people ever had. I have done more for Israel than any president, and frankly, I have done more for Israel than any person, and it's not even close.
It's so funny because, like, these people are here's the thing. I
It's
feel like
psychotic.
if you're and Steve Kerr, if you're listening, from one coach to another, uh,
Wait,
Like
you're
if
a
you
coach
were
now? What?
just now, 10:33 p.m., August 22nd, I've decided.
Okay,
But
okay, okay.
if you were a coach watching the other team's playbook and you're like, here are their weaknesses, here's what we can exploit. I think the two biggest things that where we can hit them is one, just light teasing. They're losing their fucking ever loving minds. And two, they think that that look, not that there's no infighting on the left, but Trump said what he said initially about Josh Shapiro because he was expecting Shapiro, he was certainly not expecting Shapiro to say anything back to him. And if
Mhm.
anything, he is sitting there imagining that Shapiro is furious and just tearing his own hair out because he's not the VP nom. And the idea that somebody could not get the nomination or not get chosen for something and still support their party and still
And
enthusiastically
not
support
be
their party
butthurt about it. Yeah.
and yeah and back the person who got it without bitterness is so foreign to them, and that is
Mhm.
such an easy thing to exploit, and I'm
Oh yeah.
glad that it's so clear.
Yeah. It's just like, well, just like Biden giving up his campaign. Like that was a selfless act of leadership.
Mhm.
And that was so completely foreign, as you're saying. Like
Mhm.
that's why Trump is so angry. You know, like he's still
Mhm.
fucking whining that Biden is not running. Even now, it's like almost a month after he stopped
Mhm.
his campaign.
Trump could be
And
fully
he's
in a
still whining about
casket on his way
it.
to the grave, and he would still be trying to run for president. He will never
Against
fucking
Biden.
quit.
Against
Against
Biden.
Biden. Against Biden, against Hillary. Oh boy,
Yeah.
that man.
Yeah.
To dismount with a fun story, my favorite politician in the history of America, George Santos,
Mhm.
has pled guilty to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft, and he will face at least 2 years in prison, potentially 6 to 8 years. Personally, I think he should face 6 to 8 years of being a third host on this podcast because what a fun guy.
Yeah, well, the problem is he would try to steal everything from us. Like that's the only proviso that I would be worried about.
I wouldn't let
But
him in my
yes,
home.
otherwise, yes. Yeah, yeah, right, right. But you know what? Like it is so hilarious. Like besides all the funny, weird, bizarre shit he pulled, including trying to put um, Grinder subscription on his campaign expenditures. Besides that, he also like. I just love the funniest thing to me. Also, is like how quick Republicans dumped him. Like he
Mhm.
wasn't even convicted of things; he was just indicted, and they're like, "Ah, you're expelled from Congress." And then, meanwhile, Donald Trump, they will literally let him do anything, and you know he can commit any amount of crimes because he's the maximum leader. Like it's such a great example. In addition to him being so
Mhm.
hilarious and prison, I think he's. I wonder if he's going to have some fun in prison. I think he's going to like have them making like he'll start a prison musical. I'm thinking.
I hope he
I have
does.
to imagine.
Well, here's the thing, Matt. If he doesn't, he'll say he did. So either way.
That's true. Yeah. How would we know? How could we fact check that?
But
Because
he's
we
gonna be
fact
in,
check
like,
everything on this
fancy
show.
people prison though, right? Like, he's not gonna be in, yeah, I certainly fact check things all the time and have never had to be corrected or edited out of my own podcast.
Yeah, not at all. Uh, so we never do. Yeah, we never make mistakes on the show. But anyway, but no, that's true. Like I mean, he could say he did, and we're not in jail, so how would we know? You know, I
How
can't
would we
wait for the
know?
book. You know, there will be a book. You know, there will, and I don't know, like
Oh my
we're
god. Matt,
what?
how do I get to ghostwrite that for him?
Oh,
Can I please get in touch with him? Is anyone listening? Please help, please.
Yeah, like the guy, he definitely belongs on the Real Housewives of something instead of in Congress.
He belongs on the Real Housewives of the house that I live in. I want George Santos to come here. Oh my gosh, wait. My dog's wedding is next weekend.
Well,
Do you
okay,
think I could get him an invitation?
to be the officiant.
Sure, whatever he's qualified for.
Hey, well, uh, go hang out on his Twitter replies. Set your notifications for him, and then we can see. Or at least you can
Oh,
look him
that would
up
be
on
so fun.
Cameo. Look him up on Cameo, Lisa. He will
Oh
do
my
it.
God,
He will do it.
yes.
That's how you do it, Lisa. At least you can get it virtual. If they haven't
Yeah,
put him in jail
well,
already
if he
yet.
doesn't try to sue me over it, so
Oh,
like
wait,
he's
does
trying
he?
to sue Jimmy Kimmel. He tried to
Oh,
sue
that's
Jimmy
right. Yeah,
Kimmel for
yeah.
his
That's
cameo, which good luck
yeah.
because it's already like it's not like for anyone that's trying to sue a late night comedy show host, please know that every fucking script is run through a team of lawyers. We couldn't there was a when I wrote on Jim Jeffries' show, we had to rewrite our Halloween episode because there was a candy company that we made fun of and they're one of Viacom's sponsors, and so we had to rewrite. We couldn't even joke about them. So trust and believe their lawyers, their huge team of lawyers
Yeah.
for ABC, which is what Jimmy Kimmel is on, which by the way is part of fucking Disney, which is the most litigious company in the history of the world.
Yeah.
They've got it covered. They're making sure George Santos can't sue them.
Yeah.
Don't even bother going after that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's. I would love to see that suit go forward, but I don't think it will. Anyway, all right. Well, yeah. So that's our last story for the day, and Lisa and I are both exhausted. So hopefully you guys thought it was funny this time. Well, you can let us know though. I think it was. I think we did a
Yeah.
pretty good job for you. And I
I
have
think
been
we did a pretty
going.
good job. And yes, my dog is getting married next weekend. That's not a joke.
It's not a
And
joke. Yeah.
yes, if you know George Santos, Matt will be here for that. And if you know George Santos, I'm not joking. I would love for him to come by, wedding or not.
Okay. Well, George, you're surely listening, so you should get on that, please. And you can do that, George, by following us on at Doomscroll Show on all your favorite places, and you can get
Yeah.
me on at Matt Sheffield.
Yeah, and find me on Instagram at Olympian Lisa Curry. The dog wedding between my dog Luna Tuna Chicken Boona and her fiance Detective Munch. I can't remember his last name. I'm so sorry. He's named after some Law and Order character or something, some procedural I've never watched. Anyway, their wedding is on September 1st, and we will be streaming it and posting lots of photos. So if you've ever wondered what it's like for two 40-year-old women who are childless and will remain so to live in a house together with their beloved dogs, well, tune in to Olympian Lisa Curry on Instagram, and you will see what that looks like.
And I'm sure JD Vance will be right there. All right.
He's invited
We'll
too.
see you.
We'll have donuts for him with sprinkles.
Ah, nice. All right. We'll see you guys later. Bye.